Hey y'all, it's Tyler, and welcome back to 5 Cent Wax. I'm excited for tonight's show. I've got one of the young guns of the vintage world on with me tonight. Somebody I'm sure most of you already know, very popular guy. So we're going to be speaking with Garrett Wells, owner of Ballpark Memories tonight, and getting his insight into the vintage hobby. Let me bring him on.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back here on YouTube and always glad to talk about cards. What's going on, Tyler?
Garrett, my man, what's going on tonight?
Not much. I'm relaxing, getting ready for show this weekend, going to Boston to the Shriner show. So it'll
Yeah,
be the first time I've been to that one, and I've heard it's great for vintage, so I'm ready to check it out.
yeah, and we talked a little bit about this before. You're going up. This is a buying trip, right? Getting some
Yes,
inventory or
yes,
looking
sir.
for inventory.
Sorry.
Looking for some inventory.
Yeah, I always need good stuff, so I'm always on the hunt to buy new cards because you just can't have enough of them.
Sounds like you can't keep them in stock. That's a pretty good problem to have, right?
Yeah, that's the hard part is that good cards sell quick, so it's like you gotta keep buying them.
Well, Garrett, I'm really excited to have you on tonight. I've actually have interacted. I've never got to meet you in person. I actually have interacted with your dad before, buying a couple of cards from your tables at shows. But I've always been super impressed by, kind of your all set up, how clean and organized it is. And then your dad, I think, is just super nice himself. Like I see a lot of similarities and his personality from the little I've interacted with him and what I've got to interact with you so far. I mean, you both are pretty chill guys.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. I know sometimes I'm a little hard to find at shows. I get lost walking around trying to buy stuff. So I try to be at the table as much as possible, but I
So
do get
yeah.
lost a good amount.
So you're saying you're kind of the hunter in this situation, and Dad is back at the table taking care of
Yeah,
business. Is what it sounds like.
exactly. It's kind of funny.
Well,
I'll bring stuff back and then just like kind of set it on the table, like, here's what I got. And it's either get like a nod of approval or like, shouldn't have
yeah.
bought that one.
Well, the important question: do you go ahead and price this stuff before you set it on the table for him, or do you leave that to Dad? Like, when do we need to catch you here? Is he doing the pricing, or are you? When's the sweet spot to try to sneak in there at your table?
Depends how busy I am. I try to like if I buy something at a show, I try to price it right away and set it back out, just get
Yeah.
another chance to sell it. But sometimes it gets too busy.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that stuck out to me, and there's several, as I've got to know you, and you're also just for those of you that don't know, besides being probably the youngest vintage dealer in the country, I mean, I'm sure there's some others that I'm unaware of that are young, but you're 22 years old. If I correct me if I'm wrong, you're from Fort Wayne, Indiana, from that area.
Yep.
So one, how I guess my question is, what led you to vintage? Were you a collector yourself, or what led you to not just to vintage, but to being a dealer? I mean, did it start out as you collecting cards and just go from there? What's the background there?
I collected cards a little bit as a kid, and then sort of around 2020, 2021, when everyone else started, I had another job that I quit because I didn't like it anymore, and I was about to start up classes again in a month or two. So I was like, I'll just quit, and I'd already started going to shows a little bit. I was making like $14 an hour, and so I quit. I was like, it's not worth my time right now. I'd rather just hang out with my buddies for the next month until school starts. And so that's how it started. And I ended up just never going back, never having to get another job. After,
Yeah,
5, 6 months, started to make at least close to what I was making when I
yeah,
was, making $14 an hour, and then just kept sort of working it up and slowly, surpassed that and off to the races.
yeah. So it kind of went from there. So probably sounds like it happened quick. Obviously, probably didn't happen just overnight, but it sounds like you've
No,
had pretty
sir.
steady growth since
Yeah,
since
definitely pretty consistent. So I kind of just lucked out. It was never really the plan. It was more just to hold me over until I got, a real job. And
yeah.
then I never got one.
Yeah. So the other thing I was wondering is, which we're all happy that you have chosen the vintage route. Do you dabble in modern at all, either in your kind of your personal collection or in what you sell if you come across the right thing?
If I come across the right thing, if it makes sense, usually I don't deal in it enough to make like the most competitive offers compared to people who know more about it. But if it's certain guys like, Tom Brady, LeBron, Steph Curry, like Jordan stuff. I mean, that I'm good with all those because that sort of overlaps with the crowd I deal with. So that makes it a little bit easier to deal in that stuff. And that's even hardly modern anymore. Most like modern is, more 2020s than even like
Hmm.
early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, and I'm 42, and so I thought I was fairly young in the vintage crowd, but I've got you by 20 years. So you've blown that misconception out of the water. Um, from what I can tell on, I get particularly intrigued by your YouTube videos, and I could sit and watch like you make deals. I think all day long. And one of the things that struck me about you, not just in talking to you and getting to know you, but in your videos, is how calm you are when you're doing it. In the middle of a negotiation, you're talking price, or you're trying to get a card or sell a card. Like I told you, like I've been studying up and reading on some of my Negro League history, and like Cool Papa Bell is kind of the guy I've been centered on lately. So I've decided that I'm going to start referring to you as Cool Papa just because of your personality and the way you interact. I can't get enough of that. I mean, is that something that just comes completely naturally to you? Is it something that's been developed over time? Is it just that you have started to develop relationships with a lot of the guys that you buy inventory from? I mean, how do you manage to stay kind of that
Yeah,
chill?
I'm just naturally very monotone, which is like, I'm sort of the same level, pretty chill all the time. But then, yeah, especially when it comes to like in the middle of doing deals, it's
Yeah.
just from having done a fair amount of them. And over the course of a few years, it gets less stressful to buy a card when I've
Yeah.
done it, thousands of times. It's more regular than like a big stressful event.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm guessing definitely easier now than it was when you were starting out.
Yeah,
As
it's easier for me to buy like a $5,000 card now than it was to buy a $75 card like
yeah,
4 years ago. Because
I'm
because
certain.
I'm more comfortable doing it. I know it'll sell versus when you first start, you're like, is anyone going to buy this?
Right.
They may not, but after enough
Yeah.
time, I figured out they all sell eventually.
So have you seen a shift in your business, which by the way, for you guys watching is Ballpark Memories. Have you seen a shift from when you started out? I mean, were you in the beginning early on mainly just setting up at shows and seeing what you could do, and then got into eBay? And I think you have an online storefront, not just on eBay, but I think you have a homepage. I think it's is it
.com. Yeah,
ballparkmemories.com?
yeah.
Yeah.
I just made that over the past couple weeks. So I'm working on getting everything that I have on eBay and in my inventory transferred on there. Just
Yeah.
that way people don't have to go to eBay. I can just send them to my website. Easy to
Yeah.
remember, ballparkmemories.com. And I've uploaded a good amount of stuff on there. So I mean, over the course of the next month or two, it should be basically every card I have should be on the website. It makes it easy.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
would say
So
I
you
started out on shows a good amount,
yeah.
shows like Instagram and Twitter, and then over time sort of got on Facebook, and then eventually made a jump and put everything I have on eBay. So now I just do a little bit of everything, like eBay, Facebook, shows, Instagram, and try to get every angle I can.
Hmm. And where would you say you do the most sales at? Is it in person, or is it in kind of that Facebook, Instagram, eBay, the online platforms?
Shows are pretty good, but they are not as frequent. Like you can post on Facebook every day with groups that have 20 to 50,000 people in it. So it's hard to compete with that as far as
Right.
shows, just because they're 2 or 3 days once a week. But Facebook's every day, so I mean, and same thing with eBay. So you got a bunch of
Yeah.
eyeballs and every day, so they all do balance out pretty well. I definitely do a lot on Facebook though. It's easier. It's more like personal than something like eBay where you just log on, click buy it now, and then that's it. It shows
Right.
up at your door. You get to interact a little bit more with messaging.
Yeah, that's cool. And then I don't know, I guess now that this is your full-time job and has been for a couple of years now, what does your schedule during the year kind of look like? I mean, on average in a normal year, how many shows are you going to be setting up at versus how many are you going to just to look for inventory and buy? What's that mix look like?
I try to set up at 2 shows a month. It doesn't always, equate to that. Some months you'll have 3, some you'll have 1 or 0. But ideally set up at like 2 a month. And if I could go every weekend and buy stuff, I would. There's some
Yeah.
weekends where there's not really any big shows that are worth traveling to, and there's no like smaller local shows. So it probably ends up being about 40 weeks out of the year I'm at shows, whether it's local or something you have to fly to.
Yeah. So you stay well, and I imagine on even through the week you're busy with the other aspects of your business, right? Shipping and all the kind of the administrative things that go with being a not just a presence at shows, but an online kind of retailer of stores.
Yeah,
I'd say
you
you
gotta
stay
manage
pretty busy
both.
with
You
that.
end up, you know, quit a job because you had to work 30, 40 hours a week and end up working 60 instead. So it's like, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, I'll be at a show buying stuff. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you get all that stuff up and processed and start selling it so you can have money to go spend it again on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's just like a
Yeah.
cycle that keeps going. So maybe I might get like Wednesdays are a little bit slower, but then the rest of the week is just go, go, go.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about, and of course, we all know, but the hobby in general just seems to be exploding. I mean, especially since COVID. I didn't come back into the hobby until the first part of this year, but it seems like it doesn't show, at least to me anyway, any signs of really slowing down. So with that being said, I mean, do you ever run into problems with not having as much inventory kind of in stock that you'd like, to where you're kind of scrambling and going after maybe a little bit different grade of card or type of card than you normally would, just to have the right amount of inventory on the table to put in front of people or on your online store?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this business. That's always the problem. It's you can never have enough cards and you can never have enough cash. So it's
Right.
whatever you have. If you have cash, you would rather turn that into a card, and if you have a card, you'd rather turn that into cash. So it's just constantly switching
Ne-
that over. Sometimes if you don't have a show, it's harder to buy. Uh,
yeah.
so you can just kind of supplement that with Facebook, Instagram, eBay, and auction houses, and fill in that way if you don't have a physical show. But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem is if you have cards, you want cash. If you have cash, you want cards. So it's never
the,
ending. You're never
the
happy with it.
the never ending struggle, right? Or
Yeah,
the
you can
search for
never have enough
balance
of
there.
either.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, what I kind of started thinking, I mean, I think when you kind of start into the vintage, journey, if you will. I mean, at least for me, like I've really taken the plunge, but I've been, also trying to learn more about the history of the cards and the sets and the players and everything that, I like history in general. And so it seems to me like whenever, I pick up an old card, there's a story that's attached to it, to that player, or, there's cool facts about the set that particular card is coming from. And so I think as collectors, each of us kind of have our own little niches and things that we like. But in your opinion, like what is kind of trending right now or over the last few months? I mean, is it just, we all know Mantle is like a cornerstone of the hobby. Is it Mantle and, this player, or are you starting to see a shift into particular players in the vintage world over others, or things like autograph cards? I mean, in your opinion, what is kind of trending upward right now as far as demand goes?
Yeah, it's definitely lots of the guys who have always been popular, and then Jackie Robinson is is like the king when it comes to like vintage baseball stuff as far as how sellable they are. I think part of it could be because he only has a few cards. He's got
Mhm.
way less cards than Mantle has. So if you want to have a Jackie Robinson card in your collection, there's only 5 or 6 of them. So it just
Mhm.
makes the demand kind of spike up for each individual card. Autographs were pretty hot. Yeah, autographs people like. Lots of people like to do through the mail or go back and get autographed rookie cards of all the different players or whatever team they support. Um, yeah, Jackie Robinson's hot and good looking cards right now. Uh, People on YouTube can't get enough of the talking about centering. I mean
Yep.
that's it's always what do you prefer? I mean some people like a card to look this way and right now lots of people like those well centered or not even just centered but like good looking cards that maybe appear nicer than the technical grade they were given.
Mhm.
And so that's what people want right now because I think people bought a lot of cards that they just kind of wanted, when things kind of shot up a bit and peaked. They bought stuff that they kind of wanted, and then after a couple of years, they're like, maybe this isn't one I need forever. Maybe I want a copy that's presents a little bit better,
Yeah.
or they're like, now I want a 53 mantle instead of my 65 or whatever. So they're kind of upgrading either in the card or the quality of the card. So like stuff that looks really nice right now is great. People are sort of wisening up to getting the cards that have great eye appeal and just present well. I call them like forever cards. Like
Yeah.
I've had the Leaf Stan Musial that was a 2, but it was just like beautiful. I had the deep, like dark blue, dead centered. I don't know
Yeah.
why in the world this thing was a 2, but
Yeah.
we were sort of going back and forth in price. I'm like, man, this is a forever card. If you buy this, you're never gonna sell it, because if you want this card, this is the one that you want. And so
Right.
he ended up buying it, but it goes that way for every card basically.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of took the term out of my mouth, but as soon as you started talking about that, the whole eye appeal, or I've heard it referred to as own appeal. I can't remember who I've heard say that a bunch, but it is so true. I mean, there's certain cards that just, regardless of grade, they just seem to just pop out, stand out, everything. It just kind of, hits you that, hey, this is the one I want. And I won't go down the whole PSA, SGC rabbit hole. Personally, I'm just looking for the best card I can find.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot to be said for kind of what's going on in that world with the grading companies, with collectors and all that right now. But
Yeah.
I just try to find the best looking cards that I can find, and I think a lot of people are really that's kind of the world they're living in. Uh, if I was to hazard a guess, because at the end of the day, you've only got so much money. Most of us have limited resources, so you're looking for the best looking card that you can get for the budget you have to go spend. And so I think you're right. I think you're definitely onto something with that. People kind of looking for the forever type cards, and in certain situations. Um, but I know it's funny you mentioned like Jackie and I mean the guys that are just cornerstones. But when you see a player or a constant, maybe even get hotter than normal, do they tend to pull others like that could be linked to them up in your experience? For instance, if do you see Larry Doby cards also rising? I mean, you had him following Jackie, after Jackie broke the color barrier, Doby coming into the American League. I mean, I know a lot of people like to collect Doby, but have you seen a kind of that kind of thing where one player kind of spreads and pulls others up that are kind of in the same genre, have the same background?
It's tougher in vintage just because everything happened so long ago that Jackie's even kind of like an outlier. I mean, Doby definitely, you know, uh, has gained some popularity over the past
Mm-hmm.
few years. Um, Probably linked to Jackie, or the same reasons why Jackie prices have gone up. Um, but it's harder with vintage just because there's not much going on. In modern, team could be doing well because of one guy, and it brings up the
Right.
role players, um, just because of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there is definitely movements. Like if you go back and look at some of the old Beckett's, guys like Duke Snyder and Stan Musial were like way higher priced in comparison to guys like Satchel Paige and Jackie and all
Yeah.
the other players. It mixes up and it does change, which is interesting to look at and try to figure out why they would have changed.
Yeah. So when you walk up to a table at a show and you're kind of in that buy mode, I mean, kind of along those lines. I mean, there's obviously cards or players I would imagine that you're just automatically looking for, and probably across sports, right? I mean, there's some great like the Fleer basketball sets. The Jordan rookie. I mean, even like you could cross into hockey with the Gretzky rookie, etc. I mean, you kind of get into this mode where you just based on your own experience, what's going to sell, and at that point, you're just looking for the best deal or the best looking card you can get for the money, etc. And do you find yourself with a lot of the same cards over and over as you're turning inventory over?
Yeah, definitely lots of the same cards because, some people want Jordan rookie in a 2 or a 3, and some people want it in a 5, some people want it in a 9. So you have different grades all the time, and like we talked about earlier, some people want it centered, off center, PSA, SGC. So it's lots of the same popular cards, but just different examples, different conditions.
Right.
And when I'm looking for stuff at a show, it's mostly like a price point thing. If I'm buying it to try and resell, it becomes a bit of a price point thing. But there's definitely cards, like you mentioned, like the Jordan and the Gretzky and some of the vintage baseball ones that you got to take a closer look every time you see it in someone's case. Like if someone has a 52 Topps mantle or a 51 Bowman mantle, I'm always going to look and see, maybe it's a good price. Maybe it's not something I could really have any upside with. But there's certain cards like the Jordan rookie, you gotta always, when you're walking past someone's case and you see it, you gotta stop
Go.
and do a double check and
Yeah.
at least make sure it's not, too far under market.
Right. So that being said, like you must be ultra disciplined because I don't think I could be a dealer because as soon as I got, a big card into sale, I would have a hard time letting go of it, I think. Like I mean, how do you, and I know that, you have to turn the inventory back over, for your own profit. You have to come across some cards that are just hard to let go of, or are there those cards you come across that you're just like, yeah, this one's going to have to come into my PC for a while at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. Every once in a while, it's hard to say or like describe how that sort of happens, but it's more of just like a gut feeling type of thing. You buy and sell a bunch of stuff, and then there's some that you'll buy, and you're like, I don't really want to let this go for what like fair market value might be. Like I'd probably just buy it and keep it, set it back, and so I'll do that every couple months, sort of as a treat, like a little bonus, and keep back some cool stuff. So I don't buy nearly as much as I do like for my inventory. I
Yeah.
have like here's one of them that I got this year, which is this Eddie Plank. I got this one.
Fan craze, very
Fan
nice.
Craze. Yeah, it's one of my favorite sets. It's got the same pictures as T206. So I just thought that one was super cool. And it's one of them that as soon as I bought it, I sort of knew. I was like, I'm not selling this thing. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
for a minute, I thought you were going to pull a plank T206 out on me, Garrett, and I was going to
no,
fall
no,
out.
no.
I was going to
I
fall out
don't
of my
have one.
chair.
My buddy does
This,
have one, and he's younger than me. So shout
wow.
out to Ethan if he's watching, or if you guys know Ethan. Ethan's got one. He just picked up recently, and that thing's
Mm,
awesome. That's a sick
yeah.
card. So that's part of why I got that one, just because the T206 is such a big thing that I got that one. It's the same picture, much cheaper, and it's just a popular set.
So, that being a pre-war card that you pulled as an example for something in your own PC, um, I kind of find myself venturing back or wanting to venture back more and more into the pre-war era. Is that kind of where you live as far as your own personal collection?
It's a little bit all over the place. I think it's more to do with like just stuff that you don't see every day. Like that fan craze set is relatively tough. You don't see them. Like a plank may pop up in any grade a couple times a year, two,
Yeah.
3, 4 times a year. So they're just tougher to find, and that's the stuff that I like. I have like a leaf stand musial that. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that.
Let me go to full screen with you so you can
Here,
show that thing off.
yeah.
Hang on
You
just a
can't
sec.
really see the color too well, but the color is like as deep a blue as you're going to get. Centering is just about perfect. I have no idea how this thing got a 2, like, but I bought this one and I was like, I'm not selling that thing. I've had some incredible ones, even like the one I was mentioning earlier that I called a forever card, and this one presents even nicer than that. It's the nicest one I've seen. Like I haven't
Yeah.
seen one with this combination of color and centering ever outside of
That's a,
this one. So I
yeah.
kept that. My friend is a big Cardinals fan, so that's part of it. So he's a
That's
big
beautiful.
fan of the
Well,
manga.
that's a beautiful example of that usual. So what you've got my interest peaked now, Garrett. What else you got sitting there beside you that you may want to pull up?
I tried to prep a couple over here just in case you ask. Here's this one here. This is like the first big card that maybe I ever bought. I got this one rolling. Now it's not autographed. That's someone like faked an auto. But Mickey Mantle rookie. I have a video on my channel of buying it. I think it's called like 19-year-old buys Mickey Mantle rookie. So I bought it a couple of years ago, and I don't know. It was the first time I realized sort of that I could buy expensive cards. So we were walking around a show and had a few thousand, I don't know, maybe 4,000 to spend looking for like inventory. And we came across this one. It was just raw sitting in someone's case for, I don't know, 2,500 bucks or something. And we asked him how much. It didn't even have a price on it. We asked him how much. He said 2,500. I was like, wow, that seems like a good deal. And I walked away. And 15, 20 minutes later, my dad and I were like, we
We
have
should have bought that
2,500
card.
bucks. We have 2,500. Let's just go buy it. And so we
Yeah.
did. And I've had some nicer ones since then, but this one just has some sentimental value. I mean, obviously, it's beat up. It's got a fake signature on there. It even PSA won't hold it because it has the fake signature. So we just put it in one of those like makeshift, like Amazon get your own slab type things just to
Yeah.
kind of slab it up. But
Yeah.
it
No, man.
has sentimental value. So we've thought about selling it before, but then just kind of made the decision like, it's worth more than whatever you get for it, $4,000 or something. Just sentimental value having it. If I want another nicer one, I'll just go buy one in the future and keep that one just because it's that specific copy of that card is important.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, I'm impressed with what you've put up so far. Does your dad have similar taste? I mean, as much as you guys are together, does he collect any at all, or is it just kind of a shared collection that you
Yeah,
guys
he
have?
collects lots of the most popular players, the guys that he's watched. So he's got like some Tom Brady stuff. I was a big Patriots fan growing up. Like, so he's got Brady. He's a big Ty Cobb guy. He has like
Nice.
some Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali type stuff, Lionel Messi, Gretzky, just like all the goats type thing, and buy
Yeah.
some of those Tiger Woods, all that
He's obviously a man of taste. I like that.
Yeah, so nothing too like out there, but just the guys that you watch and the guys that you remember and tell your kids about and all that.
Yeah. Well, so you said earlier that you were planning on going to Boston looking for inventory this week, and what's your plans for the rest of the year after that? You gonna be set up anywhere?
I think I only have one more I'm setting up at. That's in December. It's actually in Indiana. The person who runs the Shipshewana show, they do one like near Fort Wayne in Auburn, Indiana, once a
Hmm.
year. So it's basically the Shipshewana show, but in Auburn, Indiana. So that's the only one I think I have left to set up at. I'll be at like Chicago, the Chicago Spectacular in a few weeks. That's one of my absolute favorite shows. And I feel like there's another big one coming up at some point.
Yeah.
Obviously, Boston. I think there's like Philly. I don't know if I'll be able to make the last Philly one. But yeah, I try to hit the big shows, and then it's a little bit slower at this time of year. I mean, there's not as many shows because you got people saving up for Christmas gifts,
Hmm.
and you got Thanksgiving. People just sort of distracted with other stuff.
Right. So kind of a slow time, a time to catch your breath and
Yeah, a little bit.
get ready for
I'm
the
not
next
used to it,
year,
so it stresses me out. But like, it's
right?
good to sort of sit back for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, with if you had some cards pulled out for your own from your own collection there, I mean, you got anything that you got for sale right now that you can throw up there and show us? You got anything to wow us with?
I set a few up here. So I guess I'll just start with what's on top of the stack there. I got a really nice Seaver rookie,
That is nice.
7.5, really well centered. That set's super tough to find one that's not like diamond cut, even more so than the centering. Like the diamond cut is super common on these 67 high numbers. So that one's pretty sweet. I got that a couple weekends ago at the Midwest Monster. I got a Bill Russell rookie. That one's pretty sweet. So like all these are posted on my eBay store. I try to have everything that I have, like my full inventory, always posted on there because you might wake up one day and something sells, and you're like, "Wow, I
I
didn't have to do
I
any work for that
I,
besides
I
just put
love
it on
I
eBay."
love that I love that you just randomly pull a green Ty Cobb over to the front of the screen, Garrett. That was very subtle of you.
I appreciate it. I got more. I got more back here. But yeah, this one's one of my favorites. This one looks great. No creases, colors awesome, really pops. That's just one of my favorite cards. I got nice Ryan rookie also, similar to the Seaver, nice higher grade, really well centered.
Yeah, that's
Like I
nice.
said, that's the stuff I look for. Just not only good cards, but good looking, good cards. Let me see what else I got here. This one's not as expensive, but it's still cool. A 75 tops, wax pack, sealed.
Nice.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. I don't really deal in much wax, but if it's like graded, authenticated, I'll deal in that. Let me see. There's a couple other ones. Here's like the most expensive card I have right now, at least. 53 Maze,
Oh,
PSA 6.5. It's a super tough, like high number, like one of the toughest cards in the set.
yeah,
The
that
high
is
grade.
very nice. Where did you say you came across that one at the
This one, I got this one on Facebook actually from Chris Tanton. So if you see Chris at shows or you see him on Facebook, he's a great guy. Can't say enough good things about him, but he's
yeah.
super kind. And he hooked me up with a deal on this one. I had some Rogers Hornsby cards, and he collects Hornsby, so we did a little bit of a trade and cash. We were off like a little bit in trade, so I was like, well, if I buy this maze, how does that shave things out? And so we came to a deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice.
Let me see. I got like two more sitting back here. This one, 72 Fisk, SGC 9.5. This one is really tough to put a value on. That's the thing, because a PSA 9 does about 1,800 bucks, and a PSA 10 does like $45,000.
Yeah.
So, and this is the only SGC 9.5. There's one SGC 10 and 12 PSA 10s. So the question is, what is it worth? And that's a tough one. So sometimes cards like that have good upside. Sometimes you swing and hit a home run. Sometimes you swing and miss. So
Right.
it's a weird one. There's a whole line of people willing and ready to buy it for what PSA 9s do. But I mean, there's probably a couple hundred PSA 9s, and there's 14 copies higher than PSA 9. So
Right.
I'd like to get a little bit of a premium on that. And then last one, 40 play ball Joe Jackson, just a cool card. Tough to get any Joe Jacksons, and this is the one that most people would get if they're looking for like a more entry level Joe Jackson. If you can even call multi-$1,000 cards entry level,
Yeah.
most of his are 5 figures plus.
Beautiful.
So that's some of what I got.
Well, Garrett, it looks like you're rolling along pretty good with keeping yourself busy on stock to turn over and sell. I mean, just the random Ty Cobb or Joe Jackson, or oh, by the way, look at
I appreciate
this
it.
maze. Yeah, it looks like you're crushing it, man. And I'm glad for you. Um, anything you want to say? I know you're a busy man, so we'll start winding this down. We've been going for about half an hour now. Anything you want to say to the fine folks out there watching before if I start bragging on you?
I mean, I appreciate anyone for checking out the video. Make sure you subscribe to Tyler's channel. He's newer channel out there, so newer to the community. So everyone go out, welcome him. I appreciate you reaching out, having me on. I'm always willing to come on here and talk about cards and have a
Yeah.
good time.
Well, I sure appreciate you coming on, Garrett. And I am. I mean, I like to joke around, and I'm not always that serious, but I do like to see a young guy like yourself just knocking it out of the park. And seems like you're really doing something that you love to do. I don't think I'm wrong in saying that. And um, I think that's important. Just man, keep your priorities right. Keep it between the lines, and keep doing what you like to do. And things are going to go the right way for you, and it appears that that's the way you're headed. So keep crushing it.
I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever seen one of my videos, but I won't give you the total backstory. But I find myself with a bunch of through the mails that my late brother, had, and I end each episode by opening up some of these envelopes. I don't know what's in them. Fair warning: the last time I did this was on a video with Joe, the Redneck Collector, and we pulled a WWF Classic. So I mean, it could be anything. I don't know. So if you see me just like act like I don't know what to say, or drop the envelope and reach for another. It's probably something that I can't edit out or shouldn't show. But don't
All
think
right,
we'll run
nice.
across any of that. So I've got 4 of them here. I call this segment Big Bro's Mailbox. So let's see what we've got. First one from said envelope is 89 Greg Jeffries.
Nice.
Nice blue Sharpie signature. Remember Greg Jeffries? This is from back in my era when I was growing up. Greg Jeffries was the man.
It was a big card back in the day.
Yeah. So glad to have that one. Number 2. Oh, nice. You gotta love like a '90s pro set football, Garrett. I mean, doesn't get any better. How about a Jim Harbaugh signature?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's like a nice pack opening to end the video. You never
Yeah,
know
I
what
know,
you're
right?
gonna
That's fact. Yeah.
get.
All right, I got 2 more. Number 3. Nice. Topps Heritage Ian Kinsler.
Yeah, it's from
Ranger.
my era.
Yeah, I dig that. So I pulled my brother. We pulled some Top Heritage in that video, same video with Joe. My bro was also known to send off, do a little prospecting and catch people earlier in their career that see what could come of it. And
Yep.
some of the guys you're like, I don't even know who this is. But so envelope number 4. Oh, Chicago Bulls classic. This one had 2 in it. So we've got that's a Topps BJ Armstrong.
Nice.
And then there was another, this is a Skybox BJ Armstrong.
Oh, nice.
So we've covered all bases here. We've got basketball, football, and some good junk wax in there. So you can't beat that.
A little bit of everything. You can tell like when he was sending those out.
Well, that's the thing. Like I've got 3 stacks sitting here that like I said, I haven't opened, and so it's just it's varied. I mean, I knew he did it for years, so I'm still curious as to what all we're going to find. But I've been on a pretty good run lately. Pulling the WWF postcard or whatever that was threw me off a little bit. Didn't expect that, but I mean that led me and Joe into a whole conversation about the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and true classics of the sport.
That's
So,
awesome, man. I'm sorry for your loss, but it's cool that you get to open these and think back and remember a little bit.
oh yeah, for sure. It's a good connection. So anyway, with that, Garrett, hang tight. I'll wrap it up. But for you guys watching, please be sure to check out Garrett's his new webpage at ballparkmemories.com. Catch him at a show and say hi. He's always got great inventory. Him and his dad are always willing to talk and chat with you. They're just super nice people. And like I said, so from now on, you're known as Cool Papa. So keep doing what you do, Cool Papa.
Appreciate it, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys.